February 14, 2000. 4 o'clock in the morning. Highway 18 in North Carolina. A massive storm is tearing through the area. Rain hammering the pavement. Wind shaking the trees. Visibility almost zero. Two truck drivers, traveling separately, see something that doesn't make sense. A small figure walking alone on the side of the highway. A child. A little girl, dressed in white, carrying a backpack, walking with purpose through the darkness and the rain. One of the drivers is so concerned that he turns his truck around. He pulls up slowly, carefully, trying not to frighten her. He wants to help. He wants to get this child out of the storm and back to safety. But when his headlights illuminate her face, the girl looks at him. And then she runs. She sprints toward the tree line and disappears into the forest. 2 hours later, Asha Degree walks into her children's bedroom to wake them up for school. Her son O'Brien is in his bed. But Asha's bed is empty. Her backpack is gone. And this 9-year-old girl, who was so terrified of dogs that she would never go outside alone, who was shy and cautious and obedient, has simply vanished into the storm. 25 years later, investigators finally have answers. DNA evidence, confessions made at parties, recent searches of properties, and the devastating truth that Asha didn't run away. She was taken, and someone has been hiding her body for more than 2 decades. This is the story of Asha Degree, Shelby's sweetheart, the 9-year-old girl who disappeared on Valentine's Day, and of a case that is finally being solved in 2025. Why do you think she left her house in that storm? Leave your theory in the comments. Asha Degree was born on August 5, 1990. By the year 2000, she was a typical 9-year-old girl living in Shelby, North Carolina, a small city about 40 miles west of Charlotte. She lived with her parents, Harold and Aquila, and her older brother O'Brien, who was 10, in a modest home on Oakcrest Drive in a quiet residential subdivision. Harold and Aquila had married on Valentine's Day in 1988. 12 years later, they were still deeply in love, still building their life together. Harold worked as a loader at Pittsburgh Plate Glass. Aquila worked on the assembly line at Kauai America Manufacturing, building pianos. They worked hard. They provided for their children. They were protective, careful, devoted parents. The Degree household was religious, structured, safe. There was no computer in the home. Harold and Aquila were worried about online predators, about the dangers that lurked in chat rooms and websites. This was the year 2000, when the internet was still relatively new to most families, and parents were just beginning to understand the risks. The Degree family decided it wasn't worth it. No computer, no internet access. The children's lives revolved around family, church, and school. After school, Asha and O'Brien would come home to an empty house and wait for their parents to return from work. They had rules. They knew the boundaries. They didn't go outside without permission. They stayed inside where it was safe. Asha was a 4th grader at Falston Elementary School. She was shy, soft-spoken, the kind of child who preferred to blend into the background rather than draw attention to herself. Her teachers described her as sweet, obedient, never a discipline problem. She did her homework. She followed the rules. She was exactly the kind of student every teacher hopes to have. But Asha had a passion: basketball. She was the star point guard on her elementary school team. For a 9-year-old, she was good. Really good. Fast, coordinated, confident on the court in a way she wasn't in other areas of her life. Basketball gave her something special, a place where she could shine. The weekend before she disappeared was a 3-day weekend. Schools were closed on Friday, February 11th. Asha and O'Brien stayed at their aunt's house while their parents worked. Later that day, they went to basketball practice. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. Saturday, February 12th. Asha's basketball team had a game. It was the first game they'd lost all season. Asha committed a foul and was pulled from the game. She cried. She was upset. Losing hurt. Making a mistake hurt. But by the end of the day, she seemed okay. She'd processed it. She'd moved on. At least that's what her parents thought. Sunday, February 13th. A severe storm moved through North Carolina. Heavy rain. Strong winds. At 9:30 that evening, the power went out at the Degree house. The family lit candles and used flashlights to navigate in the darkness. By midnight, the power was still out. Harold and Aquila decided it was time for everyone to go to bed. They'd deal with everything in the morning. Asha and O'Brien climbed into their beds in the room they shared. Their parents went to their own bedroom. The house was dark. The storm raged outside, and everyone fell asleep. That was the last normal night the Degree family would ever have. Aquila Degree woke up at 5:45 on the morning of February 14th. Valentine's Day. The same day she and Harold had gotten married 12 years earlier. She had plans to make it special, to celebrate their anniversary, to enjoy the day with her family. But first, she needed to get the kids ready for school. They hadn't been able to bathe the night before because of the power outage. She planned to give them both baths this morning, get them dressed, fed, and out the door on time. At 6:30, Aquila opened the door to the children's bedroom. O'Brien was in his bed, still sleeping. But Asha's bed was empty. The covers were pulled back. She was gone. Aquila's first thought was that Asha had gotten up early and was somewhere else in the house. Maybe in the bathroom. Maybe in the kitchen. She checked every room. She looked in closets. She checked the cars parked outside. Nothing. No sign of Asha. Harold suggested that maybe Asha had walked across the street to her grandmother's house. It was close. Asha knew the way. Maybe she'd gone over there for some reason. Aquila called. Her sister-in-law answered. No, Asha wasn't there. They hadn't seen her. That's when I went into panic mode, Aquila would later say. At 6:40, the first police officers arrived at the Degree home. They began searching the property, the neighborhood, anywhere a 9-year-old girl might have wandered. Bloodhounds were brought in to track her scent. But the dogs couldn't pick up anything. It was as if Asha had simply evaporated. There were no signs of forced entry at the house. No broken windows. No yimidlaks. No indication that anyone had come inside and taken her. All of Asha's belongings were accounted for except for a few items. Her backpack, some clothes, things she would take if she was leaving on purpose. The realization began to sink in. Asha hadn't been kidnapped from her bed. She had left, voluntarily, in the middle of the night, during a storm, 9 years old. But why? Why would a child who was terrified of dogs, who never disobeyed her parents, who was shy and cautious, walk out of her house at 4 in the morning into a raging storm? Before we reveal what those truck drivers saw, why do you think a 9-year-old would leave her home at 4 a.m. in a storm? Comment below, because what comes next makes this mystery even more disturbing. As police were searching the Degree home and the surrounding neighborhood on the morning of February 14th, 2 truck drivers came forward with information that would change the entire investigation. Between 3:45 and 4:15 that morning, both men, driving separately along Highway 18, had seen the same thing. A small figure walking on the side of the road. At first, they thought their eyes were playing tricks on them. Who would be out in weather like this? But as they got closer, they realized it was real. A little girl, dressed in white, carrying a backpack, walking along the highway in the pouring rain. The location was approximately 1.3 miles from the Degree home, a distance that would have taken Asha about 20 to 30 minutes to walk. One of the truck drivers was so concerned that he turned his vehicle around. He thought maybe the girl was lost, confused, in danger. He wanted to help. But when he pulled up alongside her and she saw his vehicle, she didn't ask for help. She didn't wave. She looked at him, and then she ran. She bolted toward the tree line and disappeared into the forest. The driver sat there for a moment, unsure what to do. Should he follow her into the woods? Should he call someone? By the time he made a decision, she was gone, vanished into the darkness and the trees. When the truck drivers reported what they'd seen to police, a massive search operation was launched. Volunteers from the community poured in to help. Hundreds of people combing through the woods, calling Asha's name, hoping she was just lost and scared and would come out when she heard friendly voices. Bloodhounds searched the area. Helicopters with thermal imaging cameras flew overhead. Every resource available was mobilized. On February 15th, one day after Asha disappeared, investigators found something. In a shed near the woods where the truck driver had last seen her, approximately 1.1 miles from her home, they discovered evidence. Candy wrappers, the kind of candy Asha had received at a school event. And a hair bow. It belonged to Asha. She had been there. She had stopped in that shed, possibly to rest, possibly to get out of the rain. But then she'd left again. And after that, the trail went cold. Days passed. Then weeks. Then months. The search continued. But with each passing day, hope faded. Where was Asha? How could a 9-year-old girl vanish so completely? And then, 18 months later, in August of 2001, construction workers in Burke County, about 30 miles north of Shelby, made a discovery that would reignite the investigation. They were working on a construction site when they unearthed something buried in the dirt. A backpack, wrapped tightly in 2 black plastic trash bags. When police opened it, they found clothes, children's clothes, and a library book from Falston Elementary School. Asha's parents were called to identify the items. Yes, some of the clothes were Asha's. Yes, that was her backpack. But there were items inside that didn't belong to her. A book she had never checked out from the library. A New Kids on the Block t-shirt that wasn't hers. Someone had buried Asha's backpack 30 miles away from where she disappeared. Someone had wrapped it carefully in plastic to preserve it. Someone had hidden it. And someone had put items inside that didn't belong to Asha. Items that might connect her to someone else. Someone she knew. Someone who had taken her. Thank you for staying with us. After 25 years, DNA evidence is finally revealing who took Asha. For more than 2 decades, the investigation into Asha Degree's disappearance went nowhere. There were leads. There were theories. But there was no concrete evidence. No arrests. No resolution. And then, in 2024, everything changed. Advances in DNA technology allowed investigators to retest evidence that had been collected years earlier. Specifically, they focused on the items found in Asha's buried backpack. The New Kids on the Block t-shirt that didn't belong to her. The book she never checked out. The plastic bags the backpack had been wrapped in. The DNA results came back. And they were shocking. A hair found on Asha's undershirt matched the DNA of a woman named AnnaLee Dedmon Ramirez. In the year 2000, when Asha disappeared, AnnaLee Dedmon was 13 years old. Just 4 years older than Asha. The Dedmon family lived in Shelby. In 2000, the household consisted of Roy Dedmon, the father, Connie Dedmon, the mother, and 3 teenage daughters. Lizzie, who was 16, Sarah, who was 15, and AnnaLee, who was 13. Roy Dedmon operated a business called Northbrook Rest Home, a facility for elderly residents who needed assisted living care. One of his teenage daughters, between the ages of 16 and 17 at the time, was regularly sent to transport patients to and from Broughton Hospital in Morganton, North Carolina. The route from Shelby to Morganton? Highway 18. The exact same highway where Asha was last seen walking in the storm. The exact same area where her backpack was later found buried. The Dedmon family home on Cherryville Road was less than 4 miles from the spot where the truck drivers saw Asha. A 6-minute drive. Close enough that if someone from that household had encountered Asha on the highway that night, they could have easily taken her back to their property. But DNA evidence wasn't the only thing tying the Dedmon family to Asha's disappearance. There was also Russell Underhill, a man associated with the family. His DNA was found on items in Asha's backpack as well. But Russell Underhill died in 2004, just 4 years after Asha vanished. He was never questioned. He never faced justice. And whatever he knew about what happened to Asha Degree died with him. In September of 2024, the FBI, the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office, and the State Bureau of Investigation executed a series of massive raids. They searched the Dedmon family home in Shelby. They searched a second property the family owned in Charlotte. They searched an assisted living facility in Vail. They seized evidence. They collected a 1964 green AMC Rambler. They combed through every inch of those properties looking for anything that could lead them to Asha. The search warrants revealed something that had never been publicly stated before. Asha Degree was the victim of a homicide. Her body had been hidden, and investigators believed that due to the ages of the Dedmon sisters at the time, adult assistance from Roy and Connie Dedmon would have been necessary in the execution and/or concealment of the crime. In other words, the FBI believed that not only were the teenage Dedmon sisters involved in Asha's death, but their parents had helped cover it up. An attorney representing the Dedmon family issued a statement proclaiming their innocence. The lawyer suggested that Russell Underhill, who had been dead for 20 years, would likely be linked to the case, implying that he was the real perpetrator and the Dedmons were being unfairly targeted. But the evidence kept mounting, and what came next would be even more damning. In the week following the September 2024 raids on the Dedmon properties, a man walked into the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office with a story that would shake the investigation to its core. He told investigators that in the mid-2000s, several years after Asha's disappearance, he used to frequent bars and parties with the three Dedmon sisters, Lizzie, Sarah, and AnnaLee. They ran in the same social circles. They knew each other well. At one particular party, Lizzie Dedmon Foster was visibly upset. She was drinking heavily. She was crying. She was sobbing uncontrollably. And then, in front of multiple people, she said the words that would haunt this case forever. "I killed Asha Degree." The moment those words left her mouth, her sister Sarah Dedmon Capel reacted. Immediately, severely, she told Lizzie to shut the fuck up. Her tone was harsh, commanding, completely out of character for Sarah, who was normally calm and gentle. The man reporting this to police said Sarah's reaction caught him completely off guard. It was so aggressive, so desperate to silence Lizzie, that it stuck with him for years. In October of 2024, investigators obtained a warrant for Lizzie Foster's iCloud account. They wanted to see her communications with her sisters. What they found was revealing. On September 12, 2024, just days after the FBI raids, Lizzie sent a text message to Sarah. She said she'd spoken with the family's attorney, and then she wrote, "The theory is I did it." The theory, as if there was a strategy being discussed, as if they were trying to figure out how to handle the accusations, as if someone was being set up to take the fall. On February 10, 2025, just this year, Lizzie Foster was contacted by investigators and asked to take a polygraph test. One of the questions was whether she was concealing information about Asha Degree's disappearance. The result? Deceptive. Lizzie Foster failed the polygraph. After the interview, Lizzie immediately called her ex-husband. They spoke for more than 45 minutes. Investigators noted that the ex-husband has been uncooperative with the investigation, refusing to provide information that might be relevant to the case. On February 13, 2025, 3 days after the polygraph, search warrants were executed again. This time, investigators seized the cell phones of Lizzie Foster, Sarah Capel, and Roy Dedmon. They believe there is evidence of obstruction of justice. They believe all three of them are actively trying to conceal what happened to Asha. In April of 2025, another search was conducted. This time in Lincoln County. The FBI, along with multiple other agencies, combed through dilapidated buildings using drones and ground-penetrating radar. They were looking for human remains. They were looking for Asha. They didn't find her. Not yet. As of December 2025, the investigation is still active. No arrests have been made, but the reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction has grown to $75,000. $50,000 from the FBI, $20,000 from Cleveland County, $5,000 from the State Bureau of Investigation. Cleveland County Sheriff Alan Norman has been clear about his intentions. "It will always be our desire to bring Asha home and to bring the individuals to justice," he said in February of 2025. "Because it's going to happen." The case is officially still listed as a missing person investigation. But investigators have stated plainly that Asha Degree was murdered. Her body was hidden, and someone has been lying about it for 25 years. Asha's body has never been found. But the truth is finally coming to light. Why would a 9-year-old girl who was terrified of dogs, who never disobeyed her parents, who was shy and cautious, walk out of her house at 4 in the morning into a raging storm? She wouldn't. Not willingly. Not alone. For 25 years, the mystery of Asha Degree haunted Shelby, North Carolina. The image of a small girl walking along a dark highway in the rain, running into the woods when someone tried to help her, has been burned into the minds of everyone who heard this story. What was she running from? Where was she going? And why did she have items in her backpack that didn't belong to her? Now, in 2025, we finally have answers. DNA evidence links the Dedmon family to Asha's disappearance. A hair on her undershirt matches AnnaLee Dedmon Ramirez, who was just 13 years old at the time. The backpack buried 30 miles away, wrapped in plastic bags, contained DNA from Russell Underhill, a man associated with the family who died in 2004 without ever being questioned. And then there's the confession. At a party in the mid-2000s, Lizzie Dedmon Foster, visibly upset and intoxicated, said the words that haunt this case. "I killed Asha Degree." Her sister immediately told her to shut up. Years later, when questioned by police, Lizzie failed a polygraph test about whether she was concealing information. Text messages between the sisters reveal panic. "The theory is I did it," Lizzie wrote to her sister Sarah after speaking with the family lawyer. Investigators believe the 3 teenage girls were involved, but that they would have needed adult assistance from their parents, Roy and Connie Dedmon, to execute and conceal the crime. But here's what we still don't know. Why? What happened that night? Did Asha know the Dedmon family? Was she lured out of her house with a promise of something? A ride somewhere?
À surprise?
Was she told to meet someone at a specific location? And where is her body? Despite multiple searches, including one as recently as April 2025, Asha has never been found. The image of that little girl walking along Highway 18 in the storm takes on a different meaning now. She wasn't running away. She wasn't confused or lost. She was terrified. By the time that truck driver saw her and tried to help, she already knew. She knew she was in danger. She knew something terrible was happening. And when she saw that truck approaching, she thought it was them coming back for her. So she ran. She ran into the woods, hoping to escape, hoping to hide, hoping someone would find her before they did. But she didn't run far enough. Someone caught her. Someone took her. And someone has been hiding the truth for 25 years. What do you think happened to Asha Degree? Do you believe Lizzie's drunken confession at that party? Do you think all 3 sisters were involved? And where do you think investigators will find Asha's body? Share your theory in the comments below. This case is active. It's ongoing. And according to Cleveland County Sheriff Alan Norman, justice is coming. It's going to happen, he said. After 25 years, the Degree family might finally get the answers they deserve. Asha's parents, who have never stopped searching, who have never given up hope, who still keep her bedroom exactly as it was the night she disappeared, might finally be able to bring their daughter home. Harold and Aquila Degree have lived with this nightmare for a quarter of a century. Valentine's Day, the day they got married, the day they were supposed to celebrate love and happiness, became the day their daughter vanished. Every February 14th for the past 25 years has been a reminder of what they lost. Of the daughter who should be 34 years old now, who should have graduated high school, gone to college, maybe gotten married herself, maybe had children. All of that was stolen from them on a stormy night in 2000. But now, finally, there is hope. DNA doesn't lie. Confessions, even drunken ones at parties, reveal truth. Text messages show panic and desperation. And investigators who have spent decades working this case believe they are close. So close. If this case touched your heart the way it touched ours, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We cover the cases that matter, the investigations that are still active, and the families who are still waiting for justice. Before you go, check out our next recommended video where we explore another child disappearance that defied explanation for decades until DNA evidence finally revealed the shocking truth. Thank you for watching. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. And remember, sometimes the answers we've been searching for have been there all along, hidden in DNA evidence that technology finally allowed us to see. Asha Degree's story isn't over. Not yet. But justice is coming. And when it does, a little girl who walked into a storm 25 years ago will finally be able to come home.